South Africa. Please join us. And finally, we have Mr. Augusto Dembo, who's the director at the National Office for PPP in Angola. Perfect. Okay, so I recently introduced you. So the first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna ask you to just go present yourself to our audience, just give them some more context, and tell them what you do and how that relates to the people. Okay, please you can start with the.
Thank you everyone. So it is finally the last session. I hope you guys are still here. I know you guys are here physically, but like you guys are all here mentally and it's difficult, but we're gonna try to do it as interactive as possible so we don't lose you. So as Najib said, I'm a legal counsel at the LSF. I used to be a lawyer in the private sector. I'm qualified in both the UK and France. So I've always done PPPs and project financing. So now I've joined the LSF. So basically, as the government, only governments have regard to the implementation of PPP projects together with legal, with technical and financial advisors.
Thank you. My name is Shahid Ali, and I'm from the Development Bank of South Africa. I focus or specialize in project preparation. My background, I was in commercial bank before I joined Development Bank. So project finance and project was the area I looked at very closely. I'm now on the other side of the table. I look at the development of triple Ps from the government perspective, and assisting them getting to bankability. Thank you.
And also,
what are, as I said, I'm the only Portuguese guy here. Normally, when you say what are, you say also what are. Yeah, I'm used to them as always those introduces them and the national PPP unit of Angola. I started on the financial sector when I worked in the banks for 4 years. I'm an economist. I've been working for PPP for almost 10 years. But on the corporate side, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
okay, thank you. So let's get straight ahead, okay? I'm going to ask you a more personal question based on your career and essentially your experience. Since you've been involved in the PPP as well, all of you, can you just tell us what milestones or significant developments happened in Africa and what lessons did we learn from them? If we learned any lessons, hopefully. To all of you, yes. We can start with your name.
Anyone wants to start before me? I'll let you.
Happy to.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, I think so. I'll give you a perspective from the South African perspective. So many years back, we started triple Ps. I think most South African countries, we all started triple Ps at a point in time. But what I was telling South Africa then was that we started triple Ps, and then at some point we slowed down or we stopped. And then there was no real explanation. The question was why triple Ps were a proven formula helps infrastructure development, and the questions of why we actually stopped. And a lot of that actually goes to the panel discussions today and yesterday as well. So we've seen the benefits of triple Ps absolutely. So we've done accommodation buildings, a lot of accommodation buildings. We've done some in the road sector as well, and many examples of what's possible. And we haven't seen a single project fail so far. When it comes down to it, at the moment, as a CEO with now, we're actually looking at triple P projects in the healthcare sector, on a large scale. And the issue was, when we started analyzing, so why did we stop and what was the drivers behind that? It comes down to the discussion and innovation, and this is the government commitment. So by the way, I'm from government now, it's PDSA is owned by government. But the process and preparation part of it is important, and I'll touch on that a bit later. But in the commitment, you cannot overemphasize the commitment. The previous panel, and one of the colleagues from Makito mentioned the partnership and how they actually assisted in getting to a point where you're closing projects. That is absolutely essential. So the first part is the commitment. Morocco, from what I've done so far, you've committed to a program, a direction, a vision of where you want to go to. If you don't have that, you're going to be in a similar position where suddenly you'll see slowdown, no development. We are at the point now where we're going back to triple Ps and look at them more closely. Thank you.
Go ahead. Wilson.
Okay, in our case, in the beginning, we are very enthusiastic regarding the PPPs. We thought that this we will solve all our problems regarding the fiscal vision, the budget. There is a lot of revenues that are coming, but in the middle, with the enthusiastic, we didn't put in place the right policy. Then we have to start over again. We lost almost 10 years, all in going blind without a real policy in place. But now with the benchmark, with the World Bank, we are working, trying to put in place something more credible for the investment and also for what is our expectation as the population grow. And now we're also trying to bring the whole stakeholders of our community, this state, to the board, because there is much to be learned. And I think being in place like today, it was an opportunity for us to see what ways we have to follow. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For those, well, first of all, I'm a big advocate of PPPs. For those who were there on Tuesday during the training, it's probably going to be repetitive for some of you, but I believe that this is, thank you for confirming what I'm about to say, but that's why you need a PPP unit. You need a PPP unit to take the business side of developing PPPs, the business side on behalf of the government. Investors are going to come to you. You have to go to them. You have to go out. You have to present the pipeline. You have to present the policy. You have to present the program. This is why I believe I had a discussion with one participant yesterday, and he told me, well, you really need a PPP unit. Yes, we do, because that's the work you have to do. You have to sell the program, the framework, you have to sell it to people. Like it's like exactly like anything else. You need to tell them that we haven't done it, but we're getting there. What, based on my experience with the ELSF, I'm working in 25 countries, whether French-speaking countries, English-speaking countries. I've noticed one issue with all the government. They want to do massive projects. We are not there yet. We need to stop looking at, being from Africa myself, being from Mauritius, and that's what I said. Well, stop looking at what they are doing in North America or what they're doing in Europe. We are not there yet. We need to build trust, we need to build confidence. To build trust, you need to start small. It's like any other kind of business. I had a project, I'm not going to give you the name because it's confidential, but I had a project in the health sector where the government told me, like, we want to do 7 hospitals. I'm like, okay, so where do you want to start with that? Which hospital do you want to start with? The one in the main city? They were like, oh no, we want to do everything together. I'm like, but you've never done PPPs in the health sector. Don't you think it's best to start with one hospital or maybe one department? But they were like, oh no, we are getting pressure from the government, we have to do it, we have to do it. This has been going on for 4 years. 4 years down the road, there isn't even one study. Because this is not realistic. We have to take it step by step. Investors have a role to play in that as well. It's not only about the government. Every time I go out, I walk into negotiation, the government are telling me, oh, well, we're gonna have to say yes to whatever they say, because if we don't say yes, we're gonna lose them. We have to be quick with the competitive data. We have to be quick with the procurement process because we're gonna lose investors. And there are thousands of investors. If they are coming to the country, you set the rules. You put your foot down. Governments are powerful, they're always more powerful than the private sectors. And I know there's a lot of people from the private sector, whether constructors, technical advisors, financial advisors. I'm probably talking as first of all, as an African citizen. If you want to come to Africa, you have to play the game. It's not the fees, the way you calculate your fee have to be different. You have to innovate. You have to find solutions because governments in Africa are limited at the moment. They are under a lot of pressure, and you need to be innovative as well. They always come and sorry, but the first I'm looking at someone just in front of me from a bank. The first person responsible, I used to advise banks, so I used to advise lenders. Lenders in project financing come to us and are like, well, what we need before we move forward is a sovereign guarantee. That's not going to work enough. We are at a stage where we can't have sovereign guarantee. I believe there are a lot of mechanisms, viability gap funding, partial risk guarantees. There are alternatives. They are expensive. They are alternatives. So you need to grow out of this mindset that you're going to come to Africa and set the rules like you've done in North America or in Europe. No, you have to be innovative as well. You have to come with new solutions so we can move forward. Because you have to bear in mind, if you start with one, you're going to set the example. The first project is going to lead to more work. Not now, it will be the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Thank you for that. Actually, I just want to bounce back on what you said and what I also said. There's two keywords I keep hearing when it comes to the PPP discussion, which are policy and legal framework. What are the issues that we have at this level, and what can we do about those? Also, you can start about that.
Yes, regarding the legal framework, I think from what you've been seeing on these days, the masterclass and all the finalists that you saw, I think first of all is the law. I think everyone that was here mentioned about the law. And secondly, I think we have to put in place some kind of standard contracts. And remember that the lady, I don't know the name, but he said that I was in Canada, we make the first contract, then I get bored, that's why I left. Because it starts to feel so easy. And I think when you get a standard contract, you move faster when there is a certain level of certainty in conducting the process. Then in this morning we also I hear that I think in the country the dispute resolution mechanism tackle a lot because for the point of view of investors, it is very important that in place. Yes, I think these three issues, law, standard contract, dispute resolution mechanism, are the foundations that every PPP projects have to use as guideline regarding the legal framework.
What about you, Mindy? What is your forte? What are the issues? It's always the same, two issues that come back when we discuss the quality and legal framework. Why and what can we do about this?
So let me start with the legal framework. Let me start with first saying that, well, having a law or having a whole legal framework set out is not, well, the panacea to successful projects. If you look at the stats of I think over the last 10 years, I think there are more than 30 countries that have adopted new PPP laws. However, if you look at the number of projects that reach financial close, there isn't that many. The laws are here. It's not difficult to come out with a new law because at the end of the day, I don't know where you say that, I think it's reinvent the wheel. Yeah. We're not going to do that. So you go in a country, you take the law, you try to improve it, and that's what you should do. So, yes, you do need to have some legal framework. And a lot of governments come to us and are like, well, our law is outdated, or our law is not good enough, so we should improve it. That's okay with us. We'll come in, we'll do it, but that's not enough. It's not the whole system is not going to run by itself. So the institutions have to be solid. That's the first thing. Again, that's when you go back to my point, why you need a PPP unit. You need excellent coordination, excellent communication. I'll give you an example. I'm currently working in one country in West Africa where we're basically building 2 administrative buildings under the PPP scheme. So there are many ministries involved in that. And I've got one focal point, so I only deal with one person. And I'm like, look, I'll send you the set of documents, you review it, and you get back to me. And the person is like, that's no problem, we'll do it, I'll take care of it, but it'll take time. That's okay, time, 1 month, 2 months. I waited 8 months. And then I asked them, so what happened? The document basically got lost in the process. You will lose 8 months because you lose the document. And the truth is that, let's put it in simple words, this is not serious. You can't lose a project that big because the document has been lost in the process. This is one example. I've got many examples. So this is the first thing I tell them. Very basic things to make a project successful. You have to acknowledge receipt of a simple email. Everyone has to be copied of the email. You need to have access to the same level of information when you are working on such a big project, because there are at least 30 to 45 stakeholders. If one person is not part of the email, you lose everything. People underestimate that, and they make the whole PPP issue very complex. It's not that complex, but we need to start from scratch. Those are the basic principles. Another example, I've been advising another country, and we've done all the bidding documents that have been drafted. So we went there for the negotiate to assist the government, sat down with them for the week. It went really well. That was excellent, and they launched the bidding process quite rapidly. They launched the bidding process, and we were supposed to start the competitive dialogue next month. And I got a call last week, and they were like, "Well, we're not going to be able to do it in our country. We can't even do it. Sometimes we do negotiation in Paris. In terms of cost, all the advisors are based in either Paris or London, depending on the country. So we moved there. This is cheaper. They were actually like, "Well, we can't do that. So we're going to negotiate with the bidder. We're going to do the competitive dialogue online." I'm like, that's not the way to do it. This is the critical point of the project. You can't do a community dialogue online. And we're like, oh yes, because we're in a hurry, we're getting pressure from the minister. The problem is that you're gonna lose time later on. There's a moment where you have to be in a room, you need to start down with all the stakeholders, and you need to give yourself 5 days. You're never gonna get a perfect PDP. That's another issue as well. You'll never be able to cover all the risks. You can't do that, doesn't exist, whether in real life or whether it's in PDPs. You need to be pragmatic. You need to start, at least start somewhere. Some governments want everything covered, and they want, which is kind of linked as well, they want the private party to bear all the risks. Remember, it's a partnership. It's not about the private party coming in with all the money and bearing all the risk. You need to take some risk. You need to take more risk than a country that has a large experience in PPP. Because you need to create confidence. You need to build up the market. Take some risk on a small scale. Work on small projects. Don't jump in. Start small, and then at a later stage, you'll be in a position where the investors will trust you. They'll be like, the government has a serious change. Because I've seen governments, and I can tell you one thing, I've rarely seen a government with technical advisors who are not qualified. I've rarely seen a government with legal people as well who don't have the qualification. That doesn't happen. Anyone can learn about the law. Anyone can learn about how many projects you do. But being disciplined, coordination, that's the most important thing at this stage.
Actually, do you want to expand on this? Do you want to expand on that?
Sure. So maybe I will go a little bit, I would add to that, but from a slightly different angle. And the question, I guess, is how do we get past all of the issues? So yesterday, one of the panelists mentioned triple P's, prepare. That's very true. I think the preceding panel, somebody said triple P is planning. So I'm going to say it's preparation, and planning is part of preparation. But it's absolutely fundamental. It goes back to it's not the framework. So you can have, and I can tell you now, on this continent, we have countries that have triple P units set up, but there's no triple P's coming up. So you've got to go beyond this. The question is, when it comes down to is the preparation side of it. Firstly, you can have a unit set up, but it's the capacity within the particular entity. So are they able to identify the project? Yes, that's all the easier part. Do they know how to structure and what they want from the project? That becomes a bit more tricky. And that's where we're actually coming. So the function I play at the moment, we look at the system angle feasibility study. So the precursor to that is the pre-feasibility, cost benefit analysis, call it what you will, with different terminology in different countries. But the pre-work is fundamental. And why is it important? One, you know you can implement from a government entity. Because you're going to put resources behind it. The point about having the right system advisor, I think that's absolutely crucial. Because even at that point, if you don't have the right system advisor, your project is going to struggle. But if you get that, you do the planning properly at the very base level. You identify your project, you do the technical analysis, you do a baseline financial model, you do a legal analysis. It doesn't have to be in depth, but that's the starting point. If that's done well enough, moves to the next stage. And what we've done, and this guy is involved in development bank of South Africa, we actually assist the government departments in taking from that point to technical feasibility. So effectively preparing the project information memorandum. And then I didn't know how difficult it was until I went to the other side. So if you're a commercial bank, you take project information memorandum, you certainly take part and you start looking at the project perspective. On this side of it, it's the other way around. You have to structure to the point where you can actually take the project, you know you can take it to the market and go back to it. Triple P's big benefit concession. It sounds easy because you're government backing, but the point that Andy made as well is how do you actually governments want to give you value anymore. So one, we understand the value constraint, but there are other ways to do this. And I also agree with that. The point is the governments, when they put the balance sheet on the line, it's the contingent liability of the balance sheet. That goes beyond that. It's the commitment. Because typically, if you look at this concession agreements, you'll see, and depends on which you look at, they want some kind of ECA carbon against that. You actually default into some kind of ECA, potentially an ECA backup as well. But the government commitment behind it is absolutely important. But underlying all of this is to get the asset in a triple P. Typically, these are assets that you can't sell. So if I'm going to compare, if you get IPPs, the energy is a good example. IPPs energy, you take the risk of building, is a termination not performing, is not termination payment. In triple P, fundamentally termination payment. Why? Because the asset cannot be transferred, you can't sell it to anyone, it's about the asset. So you've got to stand behind this. And I think that's fundamentally important as well. The preparation side of it, I kind of overemphasize that part of it. But this is, I think, where if we're looking to advance this, we're asking questions, we have all the issues, we have the project that moves along. The example the man gave as well. So the example the man gave as well in terms of 8 months. Why is it that you have to wait 8 months? It's ridiculous. But that goes back to the government commitment, but then also the own government hand from that point onwards and say, okay, we will take it from you and you will work with us. Keep in mind, the role that you play, and this is where we play as well, is you don't take away the project from being partners. You work with them and you work journey with them. And it's also fundamental. What you also don't want is a government entity telling you, here's the project, and then it becomes your problem. It's not your problem, it's the government's project. And they must walk the road with you, and it's actually their project.
Perfect. Just want to take the,
I don't know if I could add the questions. When you put the question, you mentioned the legal side of the picture, but I saw that my colleagues from the final advanced to other points. I'd like to add something about the institutional approach. I believe that if there is no Silicon Valley, there is no Apple, there is no Microsoft. That the institutional side is very important. As a very important role to play. That's the compromise on the light of the policy. And compromise is involved the politicians. Without this, nothing is going to happen. Before this, on the side of VPP, institutional also, you have to put in place a VP units also to things happen. Then, what you have seen on these days is the pipeline. We have to put in place a list of projects prepared on the side of the institutional side. But then you have the procurement process also. It's just to say, it's not only the legal side, but also the institutional side to complement all. And just to add the question.
that's perfect. I want to pass on that. I just want to remind our audience that you can ask your question at any point. So let's start with that. That's something second one here.
Thank you very much, Najib. It's more of a comment as somebody who's been involved in organizing this conference for now pretty much over a decade. So I can really speak to a number of the issues here. First, I want to congratulate and really thank the three gentlemen on the panel from an institutional perspective. ALSF from the Development Bank and the facility in the context of the support they're doing various countries in Africa. And of course, the gentleman from the DPSA, having sat on the commercial banking side, is pretty live, and now on the government side, and of course, the gentleman from Goa on the honesty to say that we've got some policies wrong, and now we're revisiting. What we have seen over the years is a number of states or battalions that keep repeating. I want to ask, you individually in your own professional experience. But this is very common across the board. We have about 8 or 9 PDP units at this conference. And two issues keep repeating every year, same year, two issues keep coming up. And we also like, help with this to solve this issue. And the 2 points are the issue of project preparation. There has been a lot of laws been adopted. There is PPP units, they are there. How do we get the projects now prepared and ready to go? That's the first challenge. Second challenge is how do we mitigate against political risk internally within the country, where every few years there's change of guard, change of governments. So this is just a comment, it's not a specific question, but this really to put it out there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. You wanna?
Yes, well, that's a very interesting question, because I don't think there's an answer. I think the best answer is to get rid of all those politicians. No, well, let me answer the first question. So the preparation is that this is what we've been trying to do at our level. Because I'm always, I don't do the pure advisory anymore, so I'm always torn between technical teams and ministers. What I can tell you is that, and it's absolutely right, what you're saying, and that's 100% true. You go see a government, you go see the technical team, and they do understand that. PPPs take time, you do feasibility studies. The studies themselves take 2 years. Then once you've met them, you go and meet the minister. And then the minister tells you, well, I need the project tomorrow. Or, well, that's not a classic procurement. It's going to take at least 2 years to do the feasibility study, 2 years to launch the competitive tender process. So it's going to take at least 45 years if you want to have a solid project that's going to last for 5 years. And the truth is that what they tell you is basically, well, we've got elections for it. And this is the massive issue, because if you lose a minister, you lose the trust. Whatever you've been working on for 2, 3 years, whether it's reverse, private party, units, so they put everything, well, stability makes it very difficult for us, because you have to start again from scratch. Sometimes you do, I know some of our colleagues, but I've had to do it myself. I had to go and travel just to meet them, speak to them. So just introduce myself, just to meet them for like 2 hours, and then go back to Mauritius. So it's basically 3 days of traveling for a meeting of 1 hour. I don't think it's a proper use of resources, but it has to be done. That I don't have an answer for that. That's something that I wish I could add. This is something above my intellectual level. I just don't know who can do that. But this is the first thing that we have to solve is the political instability. It's very simple. You go around like PPP, just look at the most successful countries. There are countries where there is a political stability. Ministers, high government officials have to remember that they're working for the country, for the people, not for the election. But how can I tell that? How can you go and tell that a minister if you want to go back home safely? So I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer, but your comment is absolutely right.
Yeah, he has the answer. And he's calling me old. So yeah, difficult question. One of the other panelists said doesn't answer difficult questions. I think I'm in the same boat. So there's a distinction between, and this is what we've seen over the years, so it's the political, and that's not going to change for years to come. The politics live on. When election time comes quite late, 30, 11, you can be sure something. But there's a layer under that, and I think a lot of people in this room actually are in that space at the moment. And that's the operational layer. So I'll give you an example. In South Africa, you've got a director general structure. The director general is the head of the department.
was responsible for operations for the entire department. So your business execution is at that level. And that's what you want, the consistency on that level. Can you put in the business plan together? Can you execute together irrespective of the political changes of government? The political head is exactly that, it's just a political head. The actual authority lies at that kind of level in our country, and maybe some structure in different jurisdictions on our continent as well. It's at that level. It's the commitment at that level. If you get that right, I think you've got a different discussion. In terms of what we can do to assist, what we do at the moment, I think this is the other part of the question. The preparation side, one of the reasons we formed a whole division, so we've got a chronic preparation division focused on discipline preparation. That's because we identify those kind of gaps. So you cannot expect all the government departments to have capacity to, and that's not to actually execute on a difficulty. And that's not the ask. But what they actually need is a support to get to the point where they're committed to a triple P, to assist them along their route. And then that's exactly what we offer. And I think that's where the second part I believe of potential solution. And we've seen it actually work well. But the earlier point I made is the commitment from the partners still remains. If you've got that, it's an easier journey, and we actually see results along those lines. We've actually got 2 water concessions. As well before speaking about water, 2 water concessions in South Africa, about 15 years old now. They're 15 years in at the moment, working fantastically well. Nobody thought it was possible. But and that's the commitment. Commitment was made there, and it actually followed. And that's an operational level. Thanks.
Russell, you want to add?
Okay, this is a tricky question, but I'm a resilient guy. I survived from 5 ministers of economy and planning, 2 presidents. I still enrolled.
I think it's a wrong close to that.
Yeah, I try to be as open as possible when the ministers are saying they want the project tomorrow. I say it's not. We have to work. It's not any longer like this. Expectation with the election, the PPP process not work like this. We're gonna change, we're gonna fight, it's okay. It's going to happen. That's to say that what I've been doing with my colleagues, we have to build the way, the capacity, the team, the guidelines. I've been working with the World Bank for almost 5 years straight. They also always changing the team leader, but I stood there. Then we have to make the way for the next generation. That's what I believe. But the expectation of our minister will be always there. They are seem to be doing fair, but PPP fair is the wrong way. That's what they are saying.
Thanks for that. We have a few more questions. Take one and second one.
Merci beaucoup. Mon intervention s'adresse à Monsieur Mehdi. Bon, il a dit qu'il a sillonné plusieurs pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest. Non, on ne l'a jamais vu. Et j'ai l'impression qu'il travaille comme, comment dire, un pompier. Et lui-même
to put out fires, maybe. So sorry for my anticipation. We've never anticipated when you occupy such an important position and you are based in Cote d'Ivoire. It's about 1,000 kilometers from us. We've never seen you nearby, sir. When we occupy this position, we know that countries have PVP units, of course. And it was great to have a mission of evaluation we don't have to wait for a project to see light to come to advise us what is the background they base the judgment on, what are these working units, is it in conformity with the known standards, what are, if you want the efficiency of the administration. Do you understand me, sir? If you put yourself in my shoes, you would understand. We've had three changes, consecutive changes of origin, but the unit is still in place. It's intact. If I take my position, the PPP in our country and the decree publication, the contractual performance, when both documents were forwarded to us, they had 6 years ahead of the calendar to come up with the draft report. You understand? So I believe under these circumstances, if I see in Cote d'Ivoire or Senegal or Burkina Faso uh, and a little bit in Morocco. Don't have much information. In international meetings, we meet ourselves, we meet amongst ourselves. Africa doesn't have this cliche that there is the instability since there's a coup or a change of regime. Maybe you've fallen upon bad samples of countries, and that's why you have to be relative in your approach and your conclusions before you generalize the experience. So and doesn't match the realities there. So you have to reconsider the methodology of functioning, of course, alongside or regarding the country that you've considered or that you've supervised to open up on other experiences. You try to bring together some unities in Cote d'Ivoire. Discuss with them in details. Discuss with the units. How do you function? What are the projects that you've conducted? What is your mission, and so on and forth. I think that this to me this doesn't match reality, and we have another reality. The conclusion that you draw in the end of the day about this problem and issues do not reflect rigorously the reality on the ground in some countries. And thank you very much, sir. Nous allons prendre une autre question et continuer, s'il vous plaît. Je suis Philippe Wandou, je suis du Nigeria. Je suis le directeur des PPP au niveau national. C'est presque la même chose qu'Ahmed a déjà mentionné. Et s'il y a une transition politique, il y a des deadlines, il y a des délais à respecter avant.
Seems like every successful country or even area of TVP can have that ability and everything. So
De faire la transition.
Nigeria was
Il y a, par exemple, au Nigeria, nous avons
political, so from the politician standpoint, you can understand the case there is need for him to be able to prove, right? And obviously with the economic climate that we're all experiencing now, we can see that realistically the way forward, both from infrastructural development goals. I think one of the models, and I'm talking to all the practitioners in the space, we found out that we have to get to how to marry these two dynamics in terms of the political cycle that we constantly have, as well as the time we had legal framework for the project operation framework, right? Because the clock that for Africa that we use is adapted from, let's say, the European the models of GDP from strictly Anglo-Saxon perspective, right? Where we have the Latin America and some other regions within, the world that is successful in GDP and somehow, more institutionalized. So I think a liberalization of just one framework or one model is necessary, especially for adaptability and what is practical for Africa. So and that's with our own analysis. So I don't think the comments right on it's going out there that it shouldn't be limited to because the Anglo-Saxon framework for people and other regions within you know, the world generally also has to people to someone.
Thank you, then you can just respond to that.
I'm good. Can I do it first or-
Yeah, go ahead.
Donc, je vais répondre à la question. Vous allez peut-être pas me croire, mais le premier pays dans lequel j'étais censé aller tout de suite, j'ai rejoint la LSF, c'était en 2020, c'était à Bamako. Vous êtes du Mali, hein, c'est ça? Vous êtes du Mali. On a deux projets qui sont suspendus au Mali pour le moment, deux portefeuilles sur lesquels j'étais impliqué. La seule raison pour laquelle on n'est pas allé, c'est en raison justement de l'instabilité et des problèmes sécuritaires. Je définis, ce n'est pas moi qui définis les aspects sécuritaires, évidemment. Ce sont des règles que la BAD doit suivre. Alors, vous, ce que vous allez dire, c'est que vous pensez que Mali, c'est vraiment un pays dans lequel je voulais aller, et je suis connu, je vais connaître ici dans la demande, je suis connu pour être un pays les plus compliqués et les plus difficiles. Donc, le but, en fait, de cette critique concernant cette instabilité, ce n'est vraiment pas pour de manière condescendante ou quoi que ce soit. Je travaille avec moi, je suis africain, et que l'Afrique, c'est ma vie, par nature. J'ai quitté l'Europe pour revenir sur le terrain. On est très présent au Mali. On a travaillé sur deux gros projets. On a investi énormément d'argent. Et comme je l'ai dit, moi, je devais y aller. D'ailleurs, on était à 2 d'année. En même temps, c'est le moment où il y a eu le retrait des forces armées au Mali, l'armée française. Il y a eu des élections. Et ça a créé une grosse instabilité. Pour des raisons qui sont indépendantes de ma volonté, évidemment, on ne doit pas laisser aller. Pour être tout à fait honnête, je ne suis plus impliqué sur le Mali pour l'instant, mais c'est bien que vous me le dites et on s'assurera de régler le problème. Je vous donne ma garantie, si la balle me le permet, je serai au Mali en début d'année prochaine. Si la balle me le permet, au niveau sécuritaire, je serai au Mali dès janvier. Et pour être clair, je ne suis pas forcément d'accord avec les règles que pose la balle. Et ce sont des règles que je vais devoir discuter. Donc voilà. Mais ne pensez surtout pas qu'on néglige un pays. De toute façon, on va régler ça très rapidement et on aura une réunion très rapidement afin de régler ce problème. Donc voilà. Mais je veux que vous soyez au courant qu'on est très impliqués au Mali jusqu'à 2020. Voilà. Je ne sais pas si ça répond à vos préoccupations.
Elle vient de faire, en tout cas, une revue de 2 semaines en présentiel. Vous pouvez vous renseigner sur tous les secteurs. Donc, si vous voulez venir la semaine prochaine, on vous attend. Aucun problème, et vous verrez comment nous travaillons. Et je pense que ça peut vous servir. Je vous dis très sérieusement. Merci beaucoup.
I think the question around the different models and why.
Yeah, I think I think we're all thanked out here. If you have a question, it's the comment that you had for us. Yeah.
I think, yeah. So we'll go back to the example I gave, the work concession agreements in South Africa, running for 15 years. That wasn't based on any specific model. So I think the point in terms of it's looking what applies to you in a different jurisdiction and adapting to that particular situation. And that's absolutely possible. So some of the distinguish between principles that apply to triple P. So it's not the origin of where you come from, but it's looking at what you actually find the hierarchy, finding. And just keep in mind as well, and when you do the assessment, the triple P will be a solution, but maybe not a solution. When you're doing an assessment of funding of the building a particular project, when you go through a assessment process, the outcome will actually determine whether or not it's going to be a triple P or not. It may not be a triple P at all. The point made earlier is triple Ps are not a solution for everything. And when you actually look at it, it's less about the fundamentals, I think, the basic principles, I should say, rather, are pretty much the same. It's around how do you actually look at your business, your country, and what you think works for you in terms of how you can support the project. That's the nuance. So it's not, and we've seen this work in the water space, and nobody put the good work. So I'll give you an example, some details around the water projects. It's water projects actually serve as domestic use as well as industrial use. And it was based on the model that you get the revenue flow of that, just the least revenue flow. And then there's also what I'm going to call non-revenue water. So there's an indigent population that doesn't pay anything for water usage. So it's a combination. So you have to actually model along using those three potential sources of revenue and see whether or not the project goes. That's a good example of what looking at the situation, how you can fund against that. So I think it's based on that particular project, but the principle should be consistent with how you apply it. And the fundamentals that I don't think will change. Thank you.
Yeah, understood in that context. And fundamentally what I'm trying to get at is that, from an African perspective, the way we see or the way we report what PPP is all about, right, has come from an Anglo-Saxon perspective, right? And the lens that, let's say, the South America, right, have been, donkey years also successful, and our reality are kind of similar in terms of similar, political cycles and the same narrative. So it's just in that context that we apply, our approach independently in our own independent, jurisdiction for PPP. We should also consider, especially a bit more flexibility, given the same challenges we're all talking about in the past few days, that we're all experiencing, to open up our scope to also understand other regional PPP frameworks that are being adopted as we are also progressing within Africa. Within PPP, that's not just one size fits all, right?
Absolutely on that, but I think I'm going to go closer to home. So if you look at our continent, we've had a lot of successful peace, but even learning from each other what works and what doesn't. And Rwanda was a good example as well. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions?
First. Yes, hello. I have actually three questions. First, I want to react to what you said about the guarantee from the state when it comes to financing. You told me about that. Actually, yes, in Morocco, a lot of project financing we benefit from the guarantee from the state. This is because we, as a commercial bank, need to be involved in bankable project. And I agree with you, we have to find some innovative ways to finance projects in Morocco or abroad. But we have also our proper constraints. We do not have limited equity. And and we are not an NGO or multilateral financial institution to be involved in all the projects everywhere in Africa. So we have to make this selection. And you told and about the fact that we have to be innovative. The question is, who should be innovative? Should it be the commercial banks, or should it be the state or the industrials that should push their projects? So this is the first question. The second question is about the high level of indebtedness and education in Africa. When we talk about PPPs, we need to have solid partners, project partners. What is your opinions about the challenge that investors and public state have to face when it comes to that effects, financial effects, because we have a lot of economic instability addition to the politics also. So how do we cope with that? This is I guess we reach my third question. What about the effects of regional integration in Africa? we all know about STECAP, CDAO, UNOLA, PUMA, how integration, regional integration can help PPPs to be effective and to reach financing from abroad. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's start by addressing these few points first, then we'll move on to the other questions. Let's go first. Shahid Agusto.
I'm gonna start from the end, the question that the gentleman made about this economic instability and regional integration of vision. I think when we look to the Europe, we see that there is always a driver and in front leading the process. There has two velocities, German, French, and they are bringing the other countries. And I think regarding the approach that we have to look is the same way. For example, in our vision, we have South Africa. This is our main country, you know, but it is not leading exactly, it's not driving the car, it's not taking the other countries to issue some Mozambique, Botswana, but it left the other countries aside. I think in everything we need a leadership in the process. Without a country leading, we are not going anywhere. We're going walking around with no direction. Regarding the economic instability with the PPP, we have to embrace the challenge always, because it's not only with PPPs, it's all the economy that is affected. It's the economic inflation, the exchange rate changes every day. We was talking in the coffee break. I see my colleague from Nigeria and the Pacific, they're saying about the forex. I think every country in Africa, when we go, the exchange rate is a challenge. We have to embrace it, not only in the case of people. That's my comments.
Maybe just on the innovation side, one maybe example of what we're looking at the moment. So we appreciate commercial banks, you're doing a internal rating, you've got price against that, and then you're going to charge through the roof, your terrible, position amount will be through the roof, unless you got some kind of backing behind it. Even then, if you got a government rating behind it, it may not work, because the ratings that from country to country. But it doesn't, you can't actually do the underlying project. That's what we're actually moving away from. So one of the things we plan to be actually set up what we call the infrastructure fund to do exactly that. Can we, so instead of defaulting to guarantees and looking at the ratings of a country, you look at the underlying project. So can we start focusing on the project? The question of who said solutions, both sides, private sector and the government side. So what we should stop doing is private deciding, looking at the concession agreement, saying this works and this doesn't, and we do. We take the concession agreement, the parties who want to sort this out. That's not a solution. And I'm guilty of that as well, when I was on the other side. Because we wanted to manage the commercial bank. Why? We've got shareholders, we're giving them return, we're responsible. Absolutely appreciate that. But there is another way of doing that. Let's look at, once you start looking at the underlying project, this goes to the demand issue as well in terms of, I think there's a question around if you look at the different projects and how they perform, affordability, that goes into the point. If you look at the underlying projects, the demand is absolutely there. That's why you're doing the planning exercise that there's the demand for this particular project, and you can see there is a revenue flow. You struggle at a point in time because if it's local currency, then there may be an issue, depends how you're funding it. But let's assume that's not the case. The demand is still there. Then you look at it's a volume game. And then you look at government say, well, if we do this, can you assist in something different? So the example I gave you, infrastructure fund that we got established, look at exactly those kind of gaps. So if you know you've got you got your debt cover ratios, and there's a period where you're not going to perform. So can you support you in that particular space? And say, okay, we'll give you a guarantee for that from a particular fund, but you're not getting a guarantee for the life of your concession, because you know the underlying fundamentals still work. And as banks, you know you just get it. Whatever knowledge you run, you just test it and you say, well, worst case scenario, what's going to happen? And you won't find unless you know this still, you'll still be some a level of governance, your common ratio, you still need to discover at the point. So you start looking from a perspective, and that's what we need to do a bit more. I'm not saying we start to do with that a bit more. To get the commercial guys over the line is not easy, but I think that needs to be especially in the water space. Because we keep to that old model of saying, well, this is concession, you cover absolutely everything, it's not going to work. So I think that's one of the things in terms of, I'm just touch on Augustus said in terms of the leadership. I think what we should also have to appreciate, the leadership is not any one country. I fully appreciate that go to ethnic customs union, we custom revenue share actually amongst different countries. And it's not about leaving into other countries out. It's about look at the European Union, because multiple countries and actually work together. So at some point you can appear that one country needs the other, but it's not the case. Because everyone's got a different interest at a particular point in time. So it's looking at it, and that's I think what we've got to do better. As countries on this continent, how to work together to actually improve. So we learn from each other. And whatever works best is what we actually subscribe when we involve that. And I think that's kind of the focus we should be having. It goes back to the triple P and how we learn from each other as well. What works, what doesn't work. So instead of just doing things in silos, start having a different thought process, and you may have a different result as well. Thank you.
I'll answer to your final point as regard to being innovative. When you ask me, so who has to be innovative, whether banks, sponsors, or investors, or governments. On the financial side, I believe it is a role of banks to do that. Most of the time, when you sit down for negotiation,
Si vous êtes en train de négocier, le secteur public va vous dire les recevants du crédit ou des prêts ne vont pas accepter des conditions peut-être, mais l'État également va mettre d'autres conditions. L'État a des moyens, des outils de faire ainsi. Autrement, le gouvernement va être peut-être neutre, mais pas sur ce volet. Mais il y avait un projet qui a commencé il y a longtemps sous la tutelle de CEMAC, où LSF a été impliqué avec la Banque africaine de développement en fournissant des conseillers pour harmoniser le secteur de PPP en général. Et pour servir les objectifs des membres, il y avait 6 ou 7 pays qui appartiennent à l'Afrique centrale, au Centrafrique. Il y avait je ne sais pas le nom du projet, mais nous avons travaillé là-dessus et nous avons constaté qu'il y avait un effort provenant du gouvernement, mais il y avait peu à faire à ce temps-là. De s'attaquer à l'échelle internationale, c'était difficile. C'est difficile en général pour les pays africains de s'attaquer aux problèmes au sein de leur pays. Mais quoi dire s'ils sortent de leur pays ailleurs pour construire pour établir des partenariats, ainsi de suite. Je ne sais pas vraiment comment les gouvernements peuvent être productifs sous ces circonstances. En faisant face au niveau financier, l'économie, l'aspect économique des PPP, ainsi de suite. Je ne sais pas comment sont-ils productifs. Les gouvernements ne vont pas vous donner beaucoup de garanties. En outre, il y a d'autres projets qui bénéficient des garanties parce que la dette est un facteur.
And if you don't do it, you're going to do it. And again, it goes back to my point that I said at the beginning. Those are the rules in Africa. This is the game you have to play. And if you want to be part of it, and if you want to contribute to development, because I don't know when you were there on Tuesday, there was, one of our colleagues, one panel. We talked about it, and he basically asked, that was really interesting, man. He asked a question. So as we got to the economic side of PPPs, I think half the room raised their hand, and the other half raised their hand as regard to people first. I don't know if it's to ask you, but I think that's what, I'm talking about the whole institution, right? Banks need to have that in mind, it's people first. So you need to start slowly as well, you need to be innovative to start. You need to take some risk for the first 30, 40 years. We'll get there if lenders take that risk, those risks, you need to bear those risks. Because there is no alternative, there is no options. The problem with commercial banks, like cutting on what he said, is that, well, you're like, well, just go and see the VFIs. Go and see multilateral, we get concessional loans. But, well, there are so many players, so many commercial banks that move out. And, but I've seen an improvement, especially in the energy sector. With, I wouldn't say in all countries, but they are willing to take more risk in the energy sector, obviously, because you're always going to have someone, they're always going to get enough taken, right? They're always going to be pay for that. So, but yeah, that's it.
A little comment on adding on to what was said already. So the other thing that we are looking, so the role of the FI are important for developing finance institutions. So what we're doing is maybe look at the main level or back in participation. So we know banks have a view that they want to get paid early and they don't like risk absolutely. So if they do come in a project, sometimes well, are coming for the first 10 years tender banks. That's it. But you know you need 3 years to actually put the project to work. So part of it is maybe as the FI back in your participation, you take a mid level or whatever it may be. So the point I'm making is there are other mechanisms banks, commercial banks already use. It's adding to that. IFB's infrastructure, a guarantee will be an added on that. So there's also not new, but it's just a way you apply. We're not prepared to apply. So I think that's also a consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have a few questions. Someone else have a question? Go ahead.
Bonjour tout le monde. C'est une conférence de 3 jours. On a pu voir un peu les atouts, que ce soit réglementaire, que ce soit institutionnel et que ce soit financier.
Financial institutional, more than 8 PPP units. According to first, they were sincere. I'm seeing almost the same problems from a governmental point of view, but also from the point of view of the banks. They talked about what works and what doesn't work. So far, I would like to know why we couldn't succeed or make the title of this conference succeed, that is, to implement programs where at the 13th edition, where Amanda did that we have been saying the same thing for 5 years now. Today we're more sincere to say them and to re-say them. There is more sincerity, and we know very well where it works and it doesn't. If we still know exactly we have what blocks success, we will even have an idea on the 14th edition of Africa PPP. This is my question. Vous avez compris la question. Ce que j'ai compris, c'est le résultat obtenu de cette conférence, les résultats escomptés. Essentiellement, on a abordé plus ou moins les mêmes problèmes durant les.
So what more can we do to achieve a level of success that we're all targeting as in the PPP structure?
Okay. This is like the question about let's see, the tricky question.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm gonna answer my question in English. So the thing is that we have both the government and the private sector today. We have been more sincere in the decision to think exactly what's going on, what's right and what's wrong. What's the type of the decision was such a programs. Knowing that, for example, in Morocco, we have put in place a lot of institutions, a lot of funds, whatever it takes. We have PPP units, we have a legal comfort, we have funds, but it's still not.
On a les fonds, mais encore, on n'a pas encore fait le pas, l'étape dans la bonne direction. Je pense que vous avez raté le masterclass de Pedro.
He touched this question a lot. Saying exactly that the marriage and I don't know if the ladies but as you know, you have to work every day to marriage to work, even with low conditions. And I think it's the same for PPP. From the private, from the public side, even with low conditions, we have to still try to do our best to work. I think it's essential that, for example, the colleague from the bank asked about what came, the contribution of the bank regarding the innovation. It's the same question. The banks have to contribute awareness, the benefits of the PPP, providing technical assistance to the government. It could be one way. It's not going to solve the problem, but it's one way to help to solve, to move forward. And I think in the question, we have to still working on this marriage. Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna add to that. So maybe from the perspective of why the courts are moving along and why it takes so long. So from this perspective, so the statement is not the projects are not moving along. So the example of one is good, the projects are moving along. So it's the reality is, so if you look at the continent, the projects are moving along, different places, different countries. What can we do to make it improve? So this is not all about we identify the problem and nothing's happening. Things are happening, but we can actually make them happen better and quicker. What does it take to get to that point? And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier in terms of the preparation part does become essential and how you support your different entities in getting through that process. I think that's one of the keys that you can use to unlock I think a better rollout of projects. Thank you.
Okay. I don't actually agree with what you say. I think there is some progress. It's gonna take time again. But I speak under the control of my colleague who's head of the public sector at the OSN. And she'll be the first one to tell you that 4 years ago was a completely different game for us. Now we get requests every month. There are so many projects that are moving along. We are present in more countries. There are countries where I used to go 4 years ago where they had no idea what was a PPP. 4 years later, they actually understand the concept of PPP really well. Because they've gone out, look for financing, so they've got building. That's what I'm saying. You can't look at over a continent and be like, well, we're going to be like them in 10 years. Again, it's going to take 30, 40 years to reach that stage. But I don't think, because I don't think that we that we have. Yeah, we have. A lot of people didn't know what PPPs was 10 years ago. As I told you earlier, there's more than 30 countries have enacted the new PPP laws over the past 5, 6, over the past 7 years, I think. Which is a huge change. Simple fact that you're enacting a new law is a starting point. So I think that if we come back here in 10 to 15 years, it's going to be a completely different game. I'm confident. I'm really confident. I'm very positive about it. I'm sure government officials will be more prepared. Advisors will be more prepared. And I'm not as optimistic as for the Rangers, but I think they will intervene as well in some way. But no, we have to believe that it's going to change, and I'm sure it's going to change. It has to change, it has to get better. But and I know, well, if you come, and I'm confident, if you come back to this conference next year, it's going to be bigger. It's going to be something different again. You have to take step by step, but I mean, well, you have to keep going. Of course, you know, others are changing because it is changing. Small things are changing.
Yeah, well, I think he's right. We're on a trajectory of improvements and every year it gets better. So let's just move on to the gentleman back.
Yeah, sorry, maybe my colleague missed the initial remarks at the beginning, which was to highlight some of the significant challenges that were covered very well with regards to project preparation. What I've witnessed for the last sort of 18 years being this conference. So I really can point out to some really good progress. You look at the amounts of now facilities that are available for project preparation within each institution within Africa. So there is quite a lot of funding. If you look at the implementing projects in each country, whether it's Senegal or Kenya or some of the Southern African countries, some of the West African countries. So there is progress, but the demand is huge. The demand is really, really huge. And I think one thing that I've learned from this conference, one main takeaway for me is how far really also Morocco has progressed. You do have a lot of projects in Morocco because you have efficiency, you have that significant political stability in place, which many other places doesn't exist. And that's really important. So I want to just say that there is really big progress in many places, but it is really slow because the demand is so big. And I think if I recall the first edition of this conference, I think Matt's team, there was maybe 2 lawyers. I think now you have over 40 lawyers that are supporting all these different countries in Africa. So I think we are making progress, but yeah, even to my liking, it's slow, but we have to be patient. That's a small contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions in the audience? Yeah, so gentlemen.
Merci beaucoup pour la parole. Je voudrais un peu revenir.
Lord, I would like to come back to what the lady has just said in terms of progress. I'm employed by the Autonomous Ports Authority of Douala. I would like to say there are efforts deployed. We need to recognize this with the proof that this weekend is here with the bank projects for the Douala port. There is USB flash drive, and there's the plan for the port. This is what we were saying is that 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we used to finance our own projects with our own funds, which doesn't work. There are a lot of changes today in terms of the development of financing infrastructure. So we need to admit this. We launched the international debate for call to candidature to all investors to come to the autonomous port of Douala. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years, 10 years ago, it's not the same way. Today there is some evolution. We can, with the bank of projects that we have distributed to certain stakeholders here. This is my way of saying that there is evolution in place. We cannot say that we haven't made any progress. We continue to make advances. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you. On a encore un peu de temps. Je voudrais peut-être passer nos 2 questions. Tout d'abord, on a quelques success stories.
In regards to these tests, what was the social impact from these projects? What's yours?
I can give you an example of this.
Because the PPP will make money for the private sector. the governments will get his dam or bridge or wherever it is. So there is an indirect net benefit to society. Aside from that, what other impacts does that make?
I'll make reference to the Senegal toll road, which is one of the most successful PPPs in Africa. It was done by in 2012 by EFA. It faced many challenges. It was a very difficult project because there was a lot of displacement of population. A lot of people, in fact, I checked that this morning, I read it. A lot of people said that it wasn't going to work. That Senegal will be ready to pay the toll. Because it's basically a motorway that allows you to go inside Dakar. Nobody else. Senegalese people, they could tell you better than me, but so it used to take an hour and a half before you get to the city center. It now takes 30 minutes. From what I understand, it has changed the lives of those people. Because this is, if you want to develop a country, you need to have access, ability. So this has allowed them to develop the city, to be put on the international, because if you want to do hold like that, hold an event in a country, you need to have easy access from the airport to the city. This is the first one. People it has been such a success that I think it started with phase 2, if I'm not mistaken. So, and a lot of people are using this concession as an example because they thought it wouldn't be possible. They really thought that it wasn't going to work in Dakar. There are other projects, and there are some in Mauritius. We've just done a light railway system, which was mostly financed by India. And this has changed the life of people as well. Because obviously, with the price of petrol that has gone up, a lot of people, it's been easier for them to, a lot of people don't have cars because it's so expensive in Mauritius. That has had a real impact on their lives. Another example is Côte d'Ivoire as well. Côte d'Ivoire is one of the champions in West Africa. If you go to Abidjan today, I remember, in fact, my personal view last week, if you come to Abidjan now, it's like being in Europe. They have everything. They have everything. And this has been made possible by having PPPs through access to water, access to electricity, access to bridges, buildings. So it does have an impact. There is, I don't mind necessarily even debate. PPPs is going to change. It is the way forward for Africa. It is the solution to have access to private capital. So I rarely see PPPs that reach the financial flows that are not a success, unless I'm mistaken. I've just seen PPPs projects that have not had a social impact. I don't think there is a big debate.
There's no thing I want to add to that. So if you look at the fundamentals of why the important persons, and that's driving how the social element, the fundamental reconciliation exists. There is two levels. One is immediate in terms of maybe the construction and the benefits that may go with that. Yes, there is a potential issue of displacement, how you manage that as well. But displacement is not necessarily a bad thing. It's about how you actually manage the whole process and maybe offering new opportunities to different opportunities to communities that others wouldn't have that. And that's the fundamental part. It's about the economic growth. If I use toll roads, we've got many toll roads in South Africa. If you look at the exports and imports that we can facilitate, if you look at more the export side, so we've got a road infrastructure, toll roads. If we look at from all the way to from Zambia all the way to Durban, and that's all in terms of under a big part of it. So that's Lagos is all on the toll road. We didn't have that before. But the improvement in the social impact is huge. Economic benefits in the first instance, and then the benefits go with that. Absolutely, the direct social impact on that. That's jobs, your greater access, your businesses actually in a particular region, you see the benefits of the business in the region and then you see the flow through the big economic development as well. So social impact absolutely, it means affordability, you can afford houses, maybe you could change Even displacement, when you get displaced, it's not you just get moved to another piece of land. You get against something, decent and proper, so maybe in a hospital, you won't get housing. It's all those considerations. So the impact is on multiple dimensions, and absolutely, like any infrastructure development, whatever instrument you use, impact is always there, and it's always there. I haven't seen one that hasn't had a benefit.
Yeah, I think, regarding the social impact of the PPP, which any of our countries, for example, the efficiency of delivering the water, increases a lot involving the private sector. Because we have the water and distribution always was a big problem and the only was the public sector dealing with. In my country, for example, this is the reality involving the private sector and improve the distribution system. And the telecommunications sector is the same. Used to be a challenge. A lot of big lines just to pay bills of the telephone. You could spend the whole day there, like it was in the hospital, just to pay the bill of telephone. Now, everyone, if you talk to the children, say that there is a queue to pay the bill, you say, no, it's not possible. Yeah. Now it's history in the book, no? And even our courts, before the concession, used to be a challenge. It was almost impossible to export, to go import to our country. Now, with the PPP, is completely different. It's not longer. I think from this point of view, there is social impact on our lives, and everyone here, is a tremendous.
So thanks, so I just want to give you one question, if you can just briefly summarize personally, what do you think we can do to improve, to encourage private investment in infrastructure? What would you do? You are head of the country or head of, if you had
Wow, so I have to put my shoes in the as a president, okay.
if you got promoted, you're going to do it.
It has to be political stability. Secondly, it has to be better collaboration. And as I said, I've been saying since the beginning of the week, you have to go out, you have to sell the country, you have to sell it to investors, like you would sell a personal project. So you need good arguments. If there is instability, then obviously no one, even you, well, on a personal level, would you invest in a country? Would you put your own personal money in a country which is not stable? And there is no way of hiding. You don't have to choose. There is a political instability in Africa, and have to deal with that. And we have to be patient. We need to be patient. I mean, we can't do it. Again, we've been active with the third country that was the last 10 years. So we're not going to see the benefits now. We're going to see that maybe 30, 40 thousand. So we need to be patient. We can't have PPP. We can't skip feasibility studies. We can't skip the procurement. Everything has to be done in a proper way. So that's the only solution. Whether it's realistic or not, I don't know, but there is no easy way. There is no shortcut for PPP. Please stop looking at what we was doing. They've been doing it for 100 years. We are not there yet. So be patient, we'll get there. But I think I know that this is out of the political instability is out of our control. But what PPP units and other people from the industry can do is they have a responsibility of capacity building as well towards the minister. They have to go to a lot of ministers don't know what PPPs are. They don't know what PPPs involve. we've made a lot of research for, okay, what is it? We've never heard of it. So you also have to transfer that knowledge to our government officials. You have to sell it outside the country, and you have to sell it to your own government. Tell them, look, it's gonna be done, but it's gonna take time. Hopefully, they'll understand at some point, but again, that's a question I can't answer. You asked me the question at the beginning, so what can we do to go to that? Well, I don't have the potential to tell you I have the answer to the back.
I think it's been said already, but fundamentally it's creating an enabling environments, and that's really where it comes on. And how you actually dissect that, the different elements, so whether it's your legislation with the units, it's your coordination with different departments, very important. So it's creating that, and I can tell you now, commercial banks particularly, they actually like those sessions. It turns money from others. They fantastic, because they complain about getting to the point, but once they're there, I can tell you now, and pension funds involved. So it's a long-term asset, gives you a very good returns, fairly secure underlying asset, and you got some backing from the government as well. So I think it's creating an environment and also the engagement with the private sector. So one of the things we picked up, over the years, and even both sides, being in the growth in the private sector side and the public sector side. So in the public sector side, the statement was, well, there's a perception that the private sector is trying to make money and they're trying to hide something. And there is some truth in there, by the way, because one make money. The other side of it is the frustration. The government does what really. When you're on both sides, you get a sense of it's not about this. Private sector has a huge role to play. It's leveraging the skills, the expertise, and the finances. So it's actually looking at it from that perspective. When you start thinking along those lines, you start thinking differently even as a government entity. So, and also keep in mind, you have to be cautious. Not everything for private sector can do all of the sports. Not that at all. It's knowing what you want, you know how you're going to get to that point, and then leveraging all of that, what's in the market through the private sector. It's not in banks only. It's the skill set as well. You got your engineers, you got your lawyers, whatever else it may be. So I think it's that mindset, one, and then creating and then enabling environment that will be probably my statement. Thank you.
So, if I was the president,
I thought we didn't write all anything.
I'm in Morocco, if I was the king. Yeah, let's think about the story of the Chinese saying that you have the tree plants and the fruits only going to be collected 100 years before. For me, looking what Sharif said, enabling environment. If I could put this in our constitution, that no one came and changed all. For me, as the state mentioned, it is like assembling all the parts, and without my presence, everything is working. For me, is essential for the process of PPP. And everyone is aligned with all the process and silos, project preparation, identification, field transaction, management. Everyone is aligned with this process without interference of anyone. Everyone knows the paper and everything.
That's all for today. Thank you to our audience members. Thank you to our guests, and some final words from our MC. Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your valuable contribution. I invite you to stay with me for the closing speech. Thank you. Alors, chers invités, dans la salle, Et c'est le professeur Benjamin Paclé. Et je suis désolée, ma mission au niveau de cette conférence a fait en sorte que vous ne voyez plusieurs fois. En tout cas, c'est pour le bon déroulement de la conférence qui, on peut le dire, à ce stade, grâce à nos chefs intervenants, à nos modérateurs, grâce à vous, grâce à nos sponsors, grâce à nos organisateurs. Vous pouvez le dire clairement.
You that it's been a success. It turned into an outstanding success. We are wrapping up this about the 13th Africa PPP's conference, and we have to sum up everything we've seen for the day, especially the sessions devoted for today over the fifth. We discussed the infrastructure, the transport infrastructure in particular. Discussion has dealt with the Moroccan case and talking about the strategy and functioning of ports in particular. And then experts have talked about the Nigerian, Tunisian experiences in partner PPPs and the delivery of transport experiences. In particular, we presented an overview about the risks alongside some solutions and to attract more investment. As for the sixth session, the managers of projects have expressed their opinions that PPPs in renewable energies and the management of waste necessitates strong preparation and a continuous evaluation through rigorous negotiations of the biddings. As for the seventh session, the experts have demonstrated how the services of the public service or the public sector can facilitate access to water supplies and the role of the private sector through its diversified approach of PPPs. Eighth session and the last one handled or concluded through a debate, the debate you are witnessing right now, this 13th conference dealing with the lessons learned and the upcoming stage and the challenges to alleviate it, and particularly the perspectives and the key factors of the legal and administrative on institutional arsenal and framework have been discussed, going through from feasibility to profitability, while overemphasizing the role of project that's been underlined also by the organizers. I would like to thank the moderators, the participants, the sponsors, the participants, our dear participants who have actively contributed to the success of this 13th conference. You brought along with you your perspective, your point of view that have been essential to deepening our existing PPPs partnerships. We are truly sure that this is a huge tool we have to promote the sustainable development in Africa or throughout Africa. Hopefully, discussion exchanges will be continued on firmer ground by setting the stone on our respective countries. Wish you a nice trip back home and to your daily routines. Hopefully, you'll carry on working the collective work to bolster the PPPs in Africa. I declare officially this is done. This 13th conference finished and concluded that dealt with the PPPs, and I set appointment with you in October 2024 for the 14th Africa PPP of the African Summit. It will be a summit, and good continuation to everybody, and have a great day. Have a great day remaining of the day. And one last coffee break, maybe to exchange personal information and contacts. And also, if you'd like to take a group photo, go ahead and take it. And that's it. And we wrap up this last session and therefore conclude this conference. And thank you very much.